Well, hello, my name is Rod Bristol. I'm with Profit Soup out of Seattle, and I am so pleased to again be part of the 2021 ASBDC Virtual Conference. I'm doing two programs for the conference this year. The first one, which I did, was called Profit is Not Optional. And if you haven't watched that program, I encourage you to watch that program first before you watch this one, which is, of course, called Race to Profit. And the goal today, excuse me, is to build on the work that we did in Profit is Not Optional. Because you as an SBDC counselor work with clients, and the whole goal is to recover sales before your cash runs out, and to be able to help those clients as they're looking at how they're going to expand their businesses this year, make wise business decisions. So that's where we're headed. Now, if you're working with me, there is a workbook that's really important, and I want you to print out the workbook, and I want you to have it in front of you before you start. So if you're watching the recording, just click pause, print out the workbook, and make it ready for you to look at. And if you don't want to print it out and you've got two screens, well, obviously put the workbook up on one screen so you can look at it, and you'll have me on the other screen. And the reason I ask you to do this is because as we get into the case study, there's going to be a whole series of cash flow pages, which has like 1,000 little tiny numbers on it, which I really can't show you on the screen. So I'm going to refer to them in my PowerPoint, and I want you to be able to see them on your screen. So again, either print out the workbook and have it ready to go, or put it up on a second screen, and you'll be set. Now, in my first program, we talked about the pathway to profit, and we talked about break even. And I shared with you how to use break even as this amazing management tool. And once you get to break even, there's no profit and no loss. We added to that profit. We treated profit as a fixed cost. For some of your clients, that is a huge, huge new revelation about how to look at profit inside their businesses. Treat profit as a fixed cost. And then when we do that, we created the tool called Break Even Plus. And you may remember in our case study, we looked at pricing, we looked at different ways to use break even, and now we're going to move forward and we're going to use break even in a different way, in a way that gives us the ability to really do some analysis work. So now, up in the right-hand corner of my slides, I have the page numbers in the workbook. Now, as I said before, sometimes I tell you where I am, sometimes I don't. I just expect you to stay with me. So if I'm flipping through slides and you see the page numbers change, well, obviously join me there, all right? Now, part of this challenge for you as an SBDC counselor is to work with clients who are either not profitable and desperately need to return to profitability and need to calculate out, using cash flow and processes, how many months it will take them to get there, right? Because that then helps them understand what are the borrowing needs that I may have as I move forward with my business. And the goal, of course, is not that complicated, right? It's to be profitable as quickly as possible. That's part of your role as the SBDC counselor. It's part of your role to say, all right, here's where you are today, here's where you want to go, how are you going to get there? And you have a combination of sales and cost controls that allow that to happen. And today, we are going to look at a little business called Metro City Specialty Fitness. Terry owns it. She opened it back in 2017, had a pretty good run, 17, 18, 19, solid growth, closed, and then reopened in 2020, like so many other businesses. She had a pretty positive last quarter in 2020. 2021 is rocking. I mean, people they wanted to get back into shape again after being sedentary and ballooning during the COVID-19 crisis. And she is rocking it. She wants to open a second studio this year. Your goal, your mission as her SBDC counselor is to give her wise counsel, to give her specific direction about how she's going to be able to do that and make it work for her. So how is she going to do that? What are the tools that you can provide to her to be able to make that happen? Well, she needs three things. She needs, first of all, a sales plan. And we're going to dig deep into sales. And I know this is a finance course, but in our curriculum, we really focus on sales because sales are the beginning of everything. And we look at sales in a different way, with a different focus and a different mindset, which I think your clients will find very, very interesting. I know I did when I first began working in this particular curriculum. It taught me, a business owner for 30 years, some really interesting things. The second thing that Terry is going to need, that you're going to help her with, is a cash flow plan, because sales and profits are not the same thing as cash. And we're going to see the difference. And it's a dramatic difference. And then, of course, once you figure out just exactly how much cash it's going to take for Terry to fulfill her dream of a second studio, then we go to where? Friendly Bank, and ask for the money. I need a loan. And you're going to see that she's going to have some tools here at the end of my program that give her the ability to go and look at her business, figure out how much she's going to need, and then how to package that so that it is successful as she goes into her lending officer and asks her for the money. So now then, on page 3, I want to start a focus on sales, because that's the first thing that Terry needs. She really needs a sales plan. And the sales plan consists of what? Sales numbers, right? Numbers. However, how do you get to those sales numbers? How do you create the plan? We have a fundamental idea at Profit Soup. And it's this: you cannot manage sales. You cannot manage sales. They're going to be whatever they are, right? No, absolutely not. You can only manage the activities that drive sales. Manage the activities that drive the sales. And when you do that, all of a sudden, you begin to create the environment inside your business and the activities inside the business that create the sales goals that you're trying to achieve. So what do I mean by that? Well, in any business, no matter what kind of business it is, there's only 3 primary sales drivers, right? It's the number of customers, it's the number of members. We're going to talk about units in just a little bit. It's the number of transactions that happen inside the business. The second sales driver is, how often do they come in and buy from you? How often do they go online and place an order? And the third is, of course, how much is that order? And how do we go about driving up that transaction value? What are the things that we do to be able to create a higher level of business from our very same people? These are the 3 primary drivers of sales. Now, another thing that's so important for your clients to realize, and for you as a counselor to realize, is that there are 2 kinds of indicators that measure sales. There are 2 kinds. There are lagging indicators that measure results, and there are leading indicators that measure the activities that drive the results. Lagging indicators and leading indicators. And it's so important for your clients to understand the difference and be able then to manage and manipulate these things, the leading indicators. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, the results. The first thing you have to figure out is what are the results that you want to achieve? What are the sales goals that you want to have for your business? And the second thing is, what drives them? And here's the interesting thing. Results are fairly easy to measure, but they can be very hard to influence. Activities can be easy to influence, but sometimes they can be very hard to measure. So what do I mean by that? Okay, so an example. It's COVID-19. I've been home for basically an entire year, not out traveling on the road like I typically am. And I got on the scales in February and I looked down and went, oh my gosh, There's a 9, there's a 190 freaking pounds. I have never weighed that much in my entire life. And now all of a sudden I'm going, seriously? I need to do something about it. So that scale measurement is a lagging indicator. It measured the results of a sedentary lifestyle for about 9 months, didn't it? Now, every morning that I get up and I get on the scale and I look down, I go, oh my gosh, it's still 190 pounds. My lagging indicator measures my results. What I have to do is my leading indicators, which measure the activities. How often do I put on my shoes, tie them up, and take the dogs for a 2-mile walk? Daily, every other day, once a week? How often do I actually spend some time actually doing some additional workout? Those activities can be easy to influence, but they can be hard to measure. They can be hard to measure. But if I don't do these things, these activities, I will never change the results that I want to achieve. It's exactly the same way with sales. It's exactly the same way for your clients who are trying to figure out, how am I going to improve? How am I going to drive up the sales revenue in my business? So let's talk about this a little bit more, right? So in particular, in Terry's case, her unit is a member. It's a person that comes in and says, oh, I really like the studio. I like the specialty service that you give me and the attention that you give me, being my personal trainer. So the number of members in Terry's case directly drives the sales. The sales are a result of this leading indicator, number of members. Where do members come from? All right, members are a lagging indicator of what? The people who actually give her a call and say, what's up with your studio and how are you different than all the other competitors? And can I come and give you a try? And Terry says, absolutely. And then they come in, and then she has a conversion percentage. She has a percentage of people who actually say, wow, this is really great. And maybe it costs a little bit more than some of the others, but you, Terry, and your staff are so terrific that I'm willing to pay more because I will get more. This inquiry and conversion, as I said, is a leading indicator to the number of members. Number of members is a leading indicator to sales. How do you measure and manage inquiry and conversion? How do you measure and manage any of the other things that are part of a sales process? So let's talk about this. On page 4, we have developed what we call our sales spider. And we have these spiders for your clients in sales, profitability, cash flow, financial strength, and driving value. Those are the 5 fundamental things that we at Profit Soup really focus on for our clients, and we give to you for your clients, right? So first thing we're going to talk about is number of customers. And this is designed for you to use with your clients. When you can say, all right, let's dig deep. Let's go backwards on this chart. And we're going to figure out what is happening inside your business that drives this. What are the things that drive it? Well, first of all, you have to get them, and then you have to keep them, right? You have to get them and you have to keep them. And so how do you get them? Well, it depends on the number of shoppers, the number of visits online, the number of trials, and those things come from referrals. They come from your advertising and your marketing plan. And where do referrals come from? Well, they come from customer satisfaction and customer reviews. Do your clients have a measurement system for customer satisfaction? Do they have an assigned person that looks at every single customer review and replies to it and works through making sure that this new sales process of customer reviews are really your sales, the sales people out there for your clients? And if they don't, part of your responsibility as a counselor is to say, you really need to do this. You really need to be on top of this for your business. What about advertising and marketing? Well, there's local, community, store presentation. If they've got rolling stock, what does that look like? All of those things directly drive the number of shoppers. and this directly drives your customer acquisition. Now, conversion rate. So many businesses fail in this area. They'll get the client in, they'll get them to trial, and they will not convert to a buyer. And it happens online as well. The shopper comes on, they go online, they take a look at the product, and they don't buy it. They weren't converted to a buyer. How do you do that? How do you help the client, your clients that you work with, get there? Well, there's a whole array of things that are important inside their business. The touch points to the client, whether it's online or in person, the satisfaction, which directly relates back up to here, the staff product knowledge. Do the people who are managing the chat for the client, do they have a clear, for the customer, do they have a clear understanding of what's happening when that customer asks that question? Do they really know where that customer is going on what they're trying to get? And can they get them to a point through the chat, which is sometimes that is the only communication that you get. Can you get them to conversion? Can you get them to a sale? Staff selling skills, the systems, the presentation, both store and online, that guides the prospect to become a buyer. And then customer retention. What are the touch points? Again, what is the customer satisfaction rating? And once they buy something from your client, does your client have the next thing in line for them to sell? And if they don't, if they don't have the mindset that says, all right, I need to be thinking through the next thing that this already existing customer is going to buy from me, now's the time. You as the SBDC counselor have the ability to help them understand this whole process that drives the number of customers, the number of members, the number of heads that they may be cutting. If they're a barber or whatever it is that drives people to become a customer. Now, how do you improve purchase frequency? It's a lot of the same things, but it's a mindset that says, okay, now I've got them. Now they're a customer. What is the process that I'm going to deliver back to that customer that says, now I want to see you again. Now I want to sell you something different. Now I want to educate you, if you will, about the things that we have to sell that maybe they haven't thought of before. And then, of course, converting them to that new sale, driving more of their business through letting them know what you do. And of course, making sure that as they are a customer in your client's business, that client knows the customer satisfaction ratings that they're getting. And once you get them in, and once you have them buying more, now you want to have them buying a higher level of total dollar value of that transaction. For some businesses, this is very simple. For other businesses, it is very, very hard. And of course, it involves things like this: upgrades and add-ons, having a pricing model that gives you the ability to move pricing up. It really depends on the type of customer. Are you looking for high margin, high value customers? Are your clients that you're working with satisfied with low margin, low value clients? Do they understand the difference? Do they understand the difference of 5% gross profit and how important that can be based on creating higher margin business? And of course, again, it all gets back to the types of things that you can do. How do you create staff selling skills? Well, you do role playing, you do peer support, you do training. For so many of your clients right now, they are looking at their businesses and they may be so overwhelmed that they're just trying to hire people. They're not worried so much about training them or giving them new skills. They're just trying to get them in the door and having them be a warm body to maybe answer the phone or service. Eventually, this labor shortage that we're struggling with will end. Hopefully this fall, things will get better as far as being able to bring in people. When it does, your mission as an SBDC counselor is to tell your clients, now is the time with the staff that you have to train them up, to coach them up, to get them to a point where they truly do understand their role in the company and how much value they bring to the business moving forward. So now then, measurement is at the heart of performance improvement. It's the old saw, we all know it. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So your clients need to monitor their key sales indicators. And one of the very first things that your client has to figure out is, what is my unit? What is my unit of measure? Now, remember last time in Profit is Not Optional, we looked at the unit for that case study. Every one of your clients has a different unit. If it's a Supercuts or if it's a barbershop, it's a head. It's somebody that's actually going to come in and get their haircut. In Terry's model, it's a member. It's somebody that joins the gym and becomes a member. If you're a mover, it's a number of moves. If you're a hotel, it's the number of lodging nights that are available. If you're a veterinarian, it's the number of cases that come in. If you're a supermarket, it's the number of shoppers. If you're a concrete pumper, it's the yards of concrete. Every business has a different unit. It's so critically important for your clients, perhaps with your assistance, to know what their unit of measure is, so that from that, they can establish key metrics of units. So now then, on page 5, we give you what we believe are the key sales indicators. And it's divided up into the 3 things that we're looking for. First of all, number of clients, number of customers. How do you get them in? Well, the key performance indicator is number of inquiries or sales calls, the number of new customers, the customer closing percentage. If you're in the type of business, or if your clients are, where they have a trial and then they convert, absolutely knowing the number of leads or calls divided by the number of new customers, absolutely critical. Most of your clients' point of sale systems will not provide that information. You, as the SBDC counselor, can help them create the systems or structures that will allow them to get this type of data. The lost customer percentage. We're going to see on the sales plan that we did for Terry that she knows that every month she's going to lose a percentage of her members. It's critically important for your clients as they are trying to drive up their sales to know that number. And ultimately, what's the net gain? What is the total number of new customers that have been created by all of the work that has been done? And the measurement process gets you to this net gain. It gets them there. Now, for transaction frequency, it's pretty straightforward, right? It's invoices per customer. How many times during the course of a month do customers buy? Simply division of customers for the period divided by invoices for the period. Depending on the kind of business, it could also be based on service hours per customers. Every business has a different kind of unit. And understanding that unit and being able to divide the unit by the customers served gives you that transaction frequency. And then, of course, the average invoice amount. Being able to track that. It's revenue divided by number of invoices or transactions, whatever that unit is, and average revenue per customer. It's revenue divided by the number of customers invoiced during the period. These are fundamental. These are basic. And your clients probably have other nuances inside their business structure that help them understand how these key performance indicators should be measured for them. But hopefully from this, you have the ability to go back to your clients and say, okay, here's some basics. Now let's look at you and let's figure out what yours are going to look like. So now then, we've done all of this work, but now Terry has to sit down and say, all right, we are going to do this together. She has to take the activities that are being planned. She has to measure them by the key performance indicators and clearly set goals for the clients that she wishes to bring into her studio. These things are team focused. Terry cannot do this by herself, and your clients cannot do this by themselves. They need to have a team of people inside that business, all working together, cogwheels all nicely in sync that drive up the sales that they are trying to achieve. It's the team properly motivated, properly measured, the activities properly measured, that's going to give Terry the sales that she wants to have. So now that we've done all the work of figuring out what are the things that help us create a sales plan, now we're ready for numbers. Don't have your clients do the numbers before they do the thinking and the planning to get to be able to create, if you will, wiser numbers, numbers that really work. So this is her new studio that she'd like to open up. And she starts with 0 members, and she's going to drag in every month. She's going to figure out new members. She's going to bring in the first month with a really, really solid, strong marketing program. She's going to bring in 116 new members. Then she's going to add to that members on monthly, to where at the end of year 1, she hopes to have 464 members. Everybody good with that? We understand that that's her membership goal for the year. And she knows that she is going to lose between 3 to 5% of her membership every month. She's going to lose 103. Are there things that Terry could do to improve that? Yes, of course there are. But she is wise enough, maybe you provided her counsel based on some benchmark studies that you found, that say, Terry, you need to factor this in. You need to know that there is attrition in the member-based business model. Member-based business model. So, looking for a total new members of 362, $105. The first year, she anticipates sales of $276,400. Good, fair, or terrible? Do we know? Well, we could know if we used benchmarks to be able to help us understand whether that's a very aggressive, really hard to achieve goal, or whether that's something that's kind of a slam dunk, especially in her area, in her market, and her demographic, etc. Now, what about year 2? Well, now we are rocking it, right? I mean, this is serious stuff at this point. We're looking at a total sales of $671,700. Woohoo! Man, this is fantastic. I mean, Terry is ready to go because she looks at this and she says, I think this is amazing. If I can get this done, I know how successful we are going to be. What is your role? What is your role in this? Your role as the SBDC counselor is to be the wise advisor and to say, Terry, you know, here's the thing. Remember right when we started off this, we said we needed 3 things? Terry, it's great to have a sales plan, and I know it looks great, but here's the thing. Let's take a look and let's just see what it looks like from a cash flow basis, because Terry, profits and cash are not the same thing. And so Terry, let's look at this. And then once we look at our cash flow plan, then we're going to spend a little time and say, okay, based on how the cash flow looks, maybe we need a financing plan. Maybe we need to go to Friendly Bank and ask for a loan. So let's take a look now, all right? We're going to take a look at the cash flow plan. Now, this is why I ask you to have your cash flow or have your worksheets printed out, because it's a lot of numbers, but some of the numbers are very, very important. Why do a cash flow plan? This is a wonderful quote. This quote came from one of the women who was very early involved in growing Google. And she said, we were always focused on our profit and loss statement, but cash flow was not a regularly discussed topic. It was as if we were driving along watching only the speedometer, when in fact, we were running out of gas. Let's look at this now. Let's look at this for Terry. Terry is your client, and your mission is to assist her in this process. So on page 7, I have the questions that we really want to ask. The question number 1 is, what month do they actually get to break even? In other words, no profit. They've been at a loss. We know as you open a new location, you're going to be at a loss based on her sales plan that we're going to use. We're going to use the awesome looking sales plan. What month does she achieve break even? What is the total cash deficit for that month? They broke even. They're actually making a little profit. What is the total cash deficit? What month is their highest cash deficit, and what is that total amount? And we're going to talk about what that number looks like, and where do the resources to fund that growth come from? Where does it come from? We're going to talk about what month did they actually achieve positive cash flow. Yoo-hoo, right? Let's celebrate. Let's take a look and see what month they achieve positive cash flow. And then what could you do differently? What could you as the SBDC counselor say to Terry? Terry, look, let's do this differently. Let's talk about what could you do to change the cash flow implications of this particular 2-year business model, because that's exactly what we're dealing with now, right? All right, so now you have pages 8 and 9 hopefully opened up in your workbook, and it's a lot of numbers. I know that. That's why I don't actually put it up on the screen, because it's just too much to look at. But what I'd like to know is, what month does she actually achieve break even? What month? So look at your materials, and what I want you to find is this number right here. I want you to find this. Where is that number right there? On the profit line, because that's what we're talking about, way over here, it says profits. Come all the way across to 0. What month is that? December of 2021. This is assuming that she opened her new studio in January of this year. She has worked it really, really hard. Worked it really, really hard. And it took her how long? It took her 12 months to get to break even. Does everybody get that? Right? And this is a very specific, it's an Excel spreadsheet that we provide free of charge to any business owner that wants to set up this kind of cash flow. You as an SBDC counselor have access to it. Happy to provide it to you. And it gives you the ability to help your client, as we say, know before you go, and have the ability to play what if we do this? And what is the financial implication of our decisions inside the business, right? Everybody got that, right? We broke even, God help us, in December of 2021. And how much did we make? Nothing. The good news is, right, we didn't have to write that $2,500 check that it was going to cost us to break even in November. Now, the second question, right, number 2. What is the total cash deficit that month? Everybody good? What is the total cash deficit? We had a zero profitability. What is the total cash deficit? Way over here, it's cash, right? And what is the total cash deficit? A whopping $129,000. That's the hole that Terry has dug for herself as she has opened Studio 2. Is that important for Terry to know? Is that important for her to know? Is it important for her to know what it's going to take in the way of debt, in order and in the way of resources to be able to do this studio, this dream that she has? Absolutely. Next thing, what's the highest cash deficit amount? Well, it's $129,000, and it's in January. January carries right over from December into January of, you guessed it, $129,000. Now, let's assume for a minute that Terry did go to the bank and she said, "Bank, I want to open a second studio and I need a $50,000 line of credit to be able to do that. Can you help me? And Friendly Bank says, Terry, I love you. I love to go to the studio. And so her banker says, yes, of course, I will give you that $50,000 line of credit. And she uses her $50,000 line of credit to open the studio. What is going to happen to Terry? Bad things. Bad things are going to happen to Terry if she needs $129,000 of resources, cash, bank debt, parents, whatever, and she only has 50. Your role in all of this is so important. You are on the front line of resource and advising for small businesses in America and in the US today. And it's your mission to say to Terry right up front, Terry, that $50,000 that you're going to get is not going to do it. And if you do this with that level of resources, you are going to be in such trouble next year. Let's look at it and let's go a little bit further now. Okay, so that's the total amount of cash deficit. That this now tells Terry that's the level of resources that I need as a business owner to be able to grow my second studio. I need that level. And do I know where it's going to come from yet? No, I'm really not sure. I'm not really sure. But I do know this. That's what I'm going to need unless I change my business model. Now, what months did she achieve positive cash flow? Okay, here's the thing, right? She achieved positive cash flow at the end of year 2. And congratulations, right? In January of 2022, she achieved positive cash flow of $300,000. Why is there no party? Why is she not celebrating? Because she still owes, right? 129. She still owes 129 plus or minus $300. So it's not enough just to get to positive cash flow. Terry has to begin the process of repaying $129,000 of debt. No matter where it came from, it's the deficit that she has created. Now then, when did we finally get it done? When did she finally, on your materials now, I'm on page 9, go all the way over to the end of the line? And when did she do it? In December of 2022 for $500. That is the first time in 2 years that she has erased her cash deficit. Is that important for her to know? Absolutely. It's so important. Is cash flow doing something like this with your clients important? Absolutely. And here's the thing. Most of your clients don't know how to do this. You know, because you're an SBDC counselor and you have wonderful tools and resources, whether they're ours or whether they're somebody else's. You have the ability to help them make wise decisions and not totally screw up their entire business by doing some type of ill-advised expansion. If Terry did this, she has a successful studio, right? She opened it back in 17. She got through COVID. Things are going well. If she does this and she doesn't have the resources available, what is going to happen to her studio? Her studio that is working now, she will probably lose that studio trying to support the second one. And we do an awful lot of work in the world of franchising. And I can assure you that that happens so often. A very competent single unit owner becomes a multi-unit investor. And it is a very different skill set. It's a very different mindset. And your role, your mission as an SBDC counselor is to really help them. It's to really get them to that point where they can move from, I love working with my clients, and I love helping them reshape their bodies, and I love helping them lose weight, and I love helping them become more healthy, but I don't know the first thing about the financial structure of my business. That's your job. That's you. That's what you bring to the table. And it's so important and it's so valuable. And I'm so grateful that I can be part of helping that process. So now then, what could she do differently to improve her cash position? Well, she can, first of all, she can prioritize her spending. She could manage her costs differently, and perhaps she could improve her return on investment on her team. And I listed out a number of different things that you could do in each one of these things. So prioritize your spending. On page 10, I laid out for you, for your clients, how to do that, how to look at her sales plan differently, how to look at her margin plan, making sure that she is getting the absolute highest value for the clients, for the members that she's bringing in, making sure that her marketing plan is delivering, making sure that the money that she's spending. Remember now Terry, she knows her magic number, right? She knows her magic number because you've taught it to her. So she knows that if she spends $1 on a marketing program, it has to return whatever that number is in the way of members, back in the way of revenue back to her studio in order to make it pay for itself. And you've taught her that. She watched, you with her have watched, or you have learned the break-even tool of the magic number. You've taught it to her. So she knows exactly what she needs to make that marketing plan pay for itself. A staffing plan. Right now, maybe not for Terry, who doesn't require a large staff, but for so many of your clients, labor is the killer. It's just so difficult to get people. And once they get them, sometimes it's very hard to keep them. So a staffing plan and how do we get a return on your staff? And we're going to talk about that in just a minute. An equipment plan. How do you add equipment? And a facilities plan. Where do you come up with and how do you expand the business? And we've tried to give you in each one of these line items more information, more depth to be able to help you help the client do better. So now on pages 11 and 12, we've got tips for managing costs. These are 22 things that well-managed companies do to manage costs. As you're working with your clients, you have the ability to say, okay, let's take a look at this checklist. What are the things that you can do? What are the things that you can bring into the management structure of your business that you, if brought in, will actually help you reduce your costs or manage the costs? Then it's so important to take a look at your labor and raise your return on investment on your who? On your people. So on page 12, we've laid out all of these different tips. And as you're working with a client, you can say, all right, so let's go through this. What are the things that you do now? What are the things that if you added this particular type of activity into the management structure of your business, what would it look like? How would it change? Would it improve your total labor capacity, for one thing? Could you get more out of the people that you already have? And these tips are really helpful. They're really important. It gives the ability for your client to actually change the value of their people. Now then, on page 13, all of a sudden now, Terry knows what she knows, right? She knows, oh my gosh, if I'm going to open my second studio, I need what? I need $129,000 of what? Of debt. Because she doesn't have $129,000. Where's she going to get it? She's going to borrow it. She's going to go to her friendly banker and she's going to say, I need a loan because I want to open my second studio. And here's the thing. As she does this, she needs to match the life of the loan with the life of the asset. That is absolutely fundamental. And it's the way that so many people mess up and lose out in the process of getting financing from Friendly Bank, right? You're going to match the life of the loan with the life of the asset. So on page 13, I've laid this out for your clients. And now we're dealing not with the profit and loss statement, that thing that most of your clients really kind of understand. At least they look at it at least on a monthly basis, sometimes on a quarterly basis, but at least They do understand that they need to make a profit. Now, we're looking at that other weird thing, the balance sheet. That thing that most of the clients, when they get it, they rip it off and don't look at it anyway. But we're going to take a look at it because it's so important. It's from the balance sheet that we create the ability to grow a business, because profits are important, but so are the assets. And what kind of assets do we have? Current assets. A current asset, as you know, but as you explain to your client, these are all the things inside that business they're going to convert to cash within a year. Cash, receivables, inventory, the prepaid expenses. These are all things that we consider to be current assets. There's a whole nother list of things inside that business that are called long-term assets. They're franchise fees. If they're a franchise, they're going to amortize those over typically a 10-year period. Leasehold improvements, furnishings and equipment, vehicles. These are long-term assets, very different than current ones. Now then, how do you pay for these? How do you finance these? Well, financing for all of your current assets comes from short-term borrowing and typically a line of credit. A line of credit from the bank that goes up as they need it and they pay it back down as they have it. It's so important to make sure that the line of credit that your business owner, your client, is seeking has the ability to rest at least 30 to 60 days a year. Where it's completely paid off, it rests. Because if it doesn't, Friendly Bank may very likely call that line of credit, because now it's no longer just a line of credit, it becomes a term loan. And banks do not like to see that. So what's the financing for long-term? Well, for these long-term assets, it's long-term debt, and it's mortgages, it's term loans. How are these things paid for? How is this financing paid? This financing, the source of repayment, is cash flow. It's that monthly flow of cash through the business. Every single month comes in, comes out, and it's what causes the ability to pay up, pay down, and then, of course, draw up on a line of credit. Profit is the thing that pays for long-term debt. Profit. Without profit, you can do nothing. Your clients are stuck. They will never grow. They will never achieve the kind of business that they want to have if they can't develop profitability. So with this understanding, with this mindset, we have the ability to say, all right, now we're going to create a plan. We're going to go to Friendly Bank and we're going to say, this is what we look for. This is how much I need. I need $129,000. I need it in order for me to open my studio. How long is she going to need that $129,000? Anybody? Well, it's going to be about 2 years, right? That's how long she should plan to be able to have that. How is it going to get paid? It's going to get paid out of cash flow from the business. Cash flow from the business. And how is it going to be secured? That's a tough one for Terry. That's a tough one. What is it going to take? What is it going to take for your client to go to the bank and get that level of commitment from the bank? It's going to take a personal guarantee. It's going to take their willingness to provide not just the business financial statements, but the personal financial statements. It's going to take the willingness to sign on that bottom line down there that says, when all else fails, when everything goes to heck in a handbasket, I'll pay it back. That's what it's going to take. That's what it's going to take for Terry. That's what it's going to take for your clients as well. Now, in order to help your clients really understand the process of getting to the bank, on page 15, we've given you pretty good detailing about how to organize their financing request. And I know you have a lot of resources available for making loans or for getting loans for clients, but we just wanted to put inside this workbook some of the things that we think are really helpful, that we thought in a sort of a concise way we could assist you with. On page 16 is a sample financing request. Bank, I need the money, and here's why I need it, and here's how I need it. On 17, we've got 21 tips for meeting with lenders. And this is really important, right? There are 7 things, these 21 tips, that your client needs to do before they go. There are 7 things that they need to do while they are actually visiting with Ms. Friendly Banker. And there are 7 things that they need to do after the meeting is over. These are really helpful. These are things that your clients have not really thought about as they're dealing with the bank. How are we going to work with the bank to get what we need as a business owner to be able to create the goals that we want? And of course, number 18, on page 18, what are the questions that your client should be asking potential lenders? Are there things that your client should need to know about the bank that they're seeking funding from? Absolutely. Absolutely. And so we've tried to give you these tools to be able to pass on to your clients in a way that we hope will be helpful. We hope that will really bring them to a point where they get, what are we trying to achieve in all of this process? It's that magic little 3-letter word. Yes, 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 Terry, I will give you the money. And I'm looking forward to seeing your second studio. Is it hard to get to that yes? Can be. It can be for your clients. If your clients do not demonstrate to the bank the level of financial acumen and competency that gives the bank the assurance that maybe they'll actually get repaid. Remember back in the first program that I did, Profit is Not Optional, I had 3 things. I went, let's grow, let's do what? Let's pay back the bank. That was number 2, right? That was number 2. That's what the bank wants you to do. Now, on page 19, we just have some information about our online Profit Soup online system. And here's the thing. I helped create, in my time with, you may remember me from Profit Mastery. I helped create Profit Mastery University, and many of you use Profit Mastery University with your clients. I left Profit Mastery, I came to Profit Soup, and I helped create Profit Soup Online. And it's very different than Profit Mastery University. It's very different. It creates for the client a different kind of learning experience. And I just want to introduce you to Barbara Nuss. Barbara is the president of Profit Soup, and she is the person that actually does the online videos for Profit Soup Online. And they're very short. Our videos are not 50-minute long videos. They're very short, about 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. And then we have a little PowerPoint, we have flashcards, we have little games, things that help the client move through the process, God help them, of learning finance. And I like to say that our curriculum, and Profit Master University is the same. It's taking 14 hours of finance and giving to your client the ability to get a mini MBA in finance in a fairly compressed period of time. And it's so helpful. It's so helpful for your clients to go into the system, take these classes, and begin to apply it into their businesses. And one of the main things that we do is we create a series of workbooks. So it's not just watching the videos and doing the assignments. It's now going and getting their financial statements, bringing them into their workbooks, and creating a plan. So I wanted to just share with you just a little snippet of Barb. She's a terrific instructor, and I know that your clients would enjoy it. So here she is.
If I could give you a tool you could use to make better financial decisions, improve your cash flow, and improve your net worth, would you use it? Of course, you're saying yes to that. Here's the kicker. You already have it. Bankers place great importance on it, financial analysts live and die by it, and accountants go to great lengths to put it together. Still, for many businesses, it's a tool that doesn't get used. What is it? The balance sheet. I'm actually an accountant, and I spent a big part of my career doing financial statements for business clients. And I experienced this firsthand. I would have the joy of creating a beautiful set of financial statements that added up just perfectly. When I handed them off to my client, they would flip right past page 1. That's the letter from me that says, it's not my fault. Skip over page 2, that's the balance sheet, and turn straight to page 3, the P&L. They'd look at the sales number to make sure I didn't make a mistake because they always knew their sales numbers. Then they would look at the bottom line, and if there was no red ink, whew, made it through another one. Then they would take the statements and put them in the drawer in a nice, neat, orderly stack, never to be disturbed again. Here's the problem. There is a wealth of information on those statements, particularly on the balance sheet, that never gets used.
Anyway, so I just wanted to share with you kind of how Profit Soup Online works. As I said, it's short videos. There's a little reading that you have to do. Lots of engagement, and it allows your clients to build their own plan. And one of the things that we really pride ourselves on is that if someone is registered into the system and they're actually in the system and they're studying and they have a question, they go up to the little forum button, they click on it, it opens up a screen, they can type out their question. And it either Barb or myself or Jody or Steve or Lori, one of us will get back to them, well, depending on who's monitoring at that time. And your clients are not alone. I mean, they are definitely engaged, and we are with them during the course of that process. So I encourage you to give it a try. There's a little special. It's in the back of your workbooks there. And for the SBDC clients, if they use the little coupon code that I've provided, the cost is $50 per month. And if your clients are diligent, if they go into the system and they sign up, they get 2 free classes to start to kind of see if they like kind of how we do what we do. And then if they buy it, they get the $50 per month price. If they're diligent, in 30 days, they can complete the entire 14 sets of modules, everything. And of course, you just go up to their profile and you can cancel it at any time. And they have completed a terrific financial training program that is it's raised their financial acumen from here to here for $50. And it's really, really valuable. So I want to thank you again for the opportunity to serve you today with our Profit Soup curriculum. There's going to be a Q&A time right after this. I'll be live to be able to answer any of your questions that you have. If you don't want to ask a question during the live program, you are welcome to always give me a quick email, rod.bristol@profitsoup.com. This is my cell phone number. It's available for you. You're welcome to give me a call. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. If you have a state conference that's coming up and you would like a speaker, I'd be happy to make a proposal to you for that. Or if you would like to have a webinar for your state or for your region, happy to talk with you about that as well. Thank you again for the opportunity to serve you, and I hope you have a terrific rest of your 2021 virtual conference.